Hey, it's Meg. Welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to share a look into all of my junk journals that I have, and I thought that I'd be able to fit them all on frame, but clearly I can't. There's too many of them. Not all of them are finished, but I wanted to just sort of show you the different ones that I've got, because I've got like different styles, different shapes and sizes, as you can see, and also the like progression of like earlier ones versus how I journal now. So I thought it'd be interesting to show you all of these, and yeah, let's just dive in. So the first ones I have to show you here, as you can see, are A5 size, and I used a couple of different covers, I think just trying to see which covers felt right for me. So this one is just using an old book, and I don't think I did any stitching. I think I just made the inserts separately and then like taped them in. I was literally just like learning as I went. This one here is just with an atlas page as the cover. I quite like the look of this one. And then this one is actually tracing paper as the cover, and then I've just put some book papers underneath so that you can see something else on the cover. So I was doing a lot of experimenting with these ones and just sort of sticking things in. So as you'll see as we go through, there's just all sorts of different things. So like this, for example, I know was like a wall sticker. And I bought the set because I thought that they looked pretty as stickers for my journal. So I just did like a sort of title page here, and then I've got all sorts of bits. I really like these ones because they have different like shapes and sizes of pages, but I've got like pockets with tags and things. I think this was from a gift. I've got like watercolor swatches here, and there wasn't really any kind of theme. It was just like gluing random bits in and like washi tape cutouts. I've got like a paper clip there. This page I really love, just full of stamps. Also doing like some stenciling, adding like paper clips here with little ribbons, cards from friends, all sorts of different things I was collecting, bits of poetry and images. So it was very kind of like just almost like visual commonplacing, I want to say. Like I was just collecting different things that I liked, so like poetry that I enjoyed and all sorts of different things, so like little altered postcards and tags here. So really just bits and pieces everywhere here, like sticking in washi. Having these different size pages was something that I really did enjoy doing for these journals. This is from 2018. It's an example of a page with a bit more writing in it, and I actually quite enjoy the way that this looks with like the watercolor. I was just playing around with different ways of documenting things, but I really like all of the different elements and the textures I think that goes along with this. I was using like a little tea bag here as a pocket. I love the way that I added florals onto these pages, and here's the giant wall decal sticker. As you can see, it was absolutely huge, but I just thought that it was really pretty. So yeah, this journal had lots of different experimenting with different things, and this one was the same. As you can see, it was very scrappy with like sticking things in and bits and pieces from everywhere, and the way that the pages are all different shapes and sizes. That's something I really enjoy that I don't do a lot of anymore, but I really should get back into having like all these different like little tabs and bits poking out the edge. That's something that I really enjoy. And even just like documenting like different stamps here and having like different tapes. And this is actually the first set of Junk Journal January prompts that we did, so that's fun to have in there. And I was doing like little title pages and stuff, and saving notes, and even like the backs of envelopes, also saving like little mailers and notes and things. And just, I mean, this is clearly unfinished, but I don't know, I was saving like tea bags and things, and like postcards and all sorts of bits and pieces. So yeah, this was a really fun one to just like add things in without like pressure of what I was actually doing. And then for this journal here, I just did a single insert, and I titled it Growth, and I just did all the pages sort of relating to growth. So I had a theme going for this one. and I really love the way that the lettering looks on this page actually, and the way that it like goes over the edge. I think I used some like copper acrylic paint. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, the shine of that there. And so all of the like imagery and the text and things was all sort of relating to that theme. This I think is probably one of my favorite pages that I've ever done, just with the way that the page has a different setup there, with like the postcard making it a different like shape almost, and all the different bits and pieces. Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites, just in terms of like the ideas that I was working through, I think, and some of the compositions that I was using, because that's just the fun thing about junk journals, is that you're able to just play around and experiment with different things and not worry about everything being perfect. It's just having fun and playing with those different ideas. So, you know, seeing what does it look like if I like stamp the edge of a page and have that as a border. What does it look like if I just use one corner of the page, or add in my watercolor swatches? So, or even just like add a tag on a book page and then also have an envelope and then a postcard coming out of it. You know, there's so many different things that you can do to be creative with a junk journal page. And this page I think I even just covered completely with some duct tape that I must have found that had this really cool pattern on it, and you know, that's the page, I guess. So it's not like super elaborate or amazing, but it's all different ideas. So, you know, having fabric as a page, like that's a really nice idea to have as just a smaller page. So those are my earliest ones, and as you can see, they got super chunky in the way that I filled them up and added tabs. So that is my biggest ones. They are the A5 ones, and apart from one of the other ones I'm about to show you now, I then went into a smaller size of these journals. But yeah, they were fun to work in and definitely good for trying out things and seeing what I actually enjoyed and what I didn't for junk journaling. So the next one I wanted to show you is actually one that's not in a traditional cover in a sense. So it's actually like loose, not like properly bound, like sewn together or anything, and it's in a Grace and Salt ink ink dory, like a faux Midori notebook. And this is obviously absolutely huge, so maybe this actually wins in being bigger than the other journals. But this is from 2019, and this just has all sorts of bits and pieces. And this is another one that it's not finished either, but I just thought it would be fun to show you some of these, and you can see just how my style's developed, because I can see bits that I still do now, but also I can tell how it's a lot different. Like I was doing a lot more jotting things down, still working on the pages being different shapes, but I was adding packaging in and using different papers as my bases. And I really like the quote that I've put in here, that it's not just stickers, it's happiness overload. So that's something I really enjoyed, was just like adding random bits in without it being a full page, so to speak. And like I was making things like little pockets here just with offcuts of plastic, and having pages be all sorts of different things. So this is like a paper bag, and I've added like stamps and washi tape and stickers. Like this is more of a travel junk journal almost, because this is from when I went to the Netherlands back in 2019, and I did like a little page here, as you can see, with like photos and bits and pieces from the day. And I just used some tracing paper here in order to make the tip in, so that it kind of didn't obstruct too much from the page. I was also doing like pages for months, which is definitely something I don't do anymore, because this had a lot more regular journaling in it almost. But as I said, it's not like completely finished. Like you can see here where I've like stuck in like notes from people, but I've got pages that are blank. Like I just put some washi strip down the side here, and I've not done anything. So this must have been like from a gift tag or something, and I've just kept it and added that as something for the page. And I've also got things like this where I was doing a bit of sort of painting and drawing trying to see how I would work in the mixed media. And again, just pages that had all sorts of different pieces going on, like postcards and jotting things down and washi tape. So yeah, maybe I should bring some more writing back into my journals, but I do also enjoy just having them be as they are. So as you can see, I was just adding in like stamps and postcards, and it's very much a more documenting style of my journaling. So that is what I did for this journal. And whilst I'm on the topic of junk journals within like traveler's notebook style covers, this is actually my passport TN, and I do have a little junk journal in here that I've worked on, that I've only done a few pages, but I thought I would share it whilst we're looking at junk journals. So I've got a few like little charms on the elastic here, and the first insert that I've got within this notebook is actually the junk journal. So it's all different papers, a passport size, so I think this wins for the smallest one that I've got in my collection. And this actually has some of my favourite pages in it, despite not having done very many. So I really love this one, for example. I've got this one where I did like some writing over the top of a postcard and playing with different layers. I've also got this one where I punched out the edge of the papers and just did a bit of a collage around a tag. And this one where I really enjoy the way that the text looks in the centre there and all the different stamping that I've got around the edges. And then this one where I actually did some painting. So I used some yellows and some browns here just to add a floral element, but this is actually some packaging, because you can see here there's a bit of a gap, and that's where like the other side of the packaging would go in, a bit like how a cereal box does. So that's why there's a cut in this. I haven't actually just randomly cut it, that's just why, because it was just some packaging that I've cut out because I liked the shape of it and having that within my journal, and obviously in the spirit of junk journaling, just to use whatever I had lying around to do the painting on. But that's pretty much everything. I did some like swatching here and playing with inks, but otherwise I haven't done a huge amount within this journal. Oh, I've also got my little Halloween page that I did last year in here as well, but yeah, otherwise I haven't really done a huge amount on these pages, so I definitely should work some more in this because it's a size that I really do enjoy working in. So that's in that one. And then speaking of just journals that are unfinished, because not all of the junk journals that I have I finished, but I still wanted to show you some of the pages. So this is, I think, the first Messy May journal that I did, and I have some pages in here that are probably my favorites of all time, so I'll show you as we go through. So there's just like one here with a pocket and a collage and a tag from, I think that was from a tea bag, so very simple. This was a bit more like mixed media, but still playing with all the different papers. I've got like fabric going on here, all sorts of different things. A lot of this was working from prompts, so it's not always especially what I would normally do. I was trying to, you know, do that thing of trying different things and going along with the prompt just to see what I could create. Pages like these where I've got these really big standout botanical images on top of this like coffee and white paint textured background are some of my favorites. So I think this is just like some like order form paper here, like super thin, that is serving as a bit of a background there. Now I think this was for one of the prompts to, like, you know, draw out the boxes and do these like concentrated little samples, but this is actually a really good way of practicing like how you want different materials to come together. And I was practicing different like brush lettering on top of the texture to see how it would sit, even doing a bit of stitching around the outside here. So I do really like having this as just a place of having some reference of different things and how they go together. This is another one that I really like, so I did some like little cutouts here, this white lettering on the pink background, which I really like, and also some stitching there on just some vellum. And again, that coffee background I really enjoy, especially with how light and bright it also feels with the white paint on it as well. Now I think it's just because obviously this sunflower is such a beautiful image anyway, but having the typewriter text on here with the vellum and just the way that the coffee has stained the page and all of the textural bits, and I clearly did some like white paint like just splattering here. That's something that I really like. So I love having these journals just to look back on, just to reference and get ideas from things that I've done and pick out, you know, the bits that I like so I can use it in future journals. But then I was also doing a bit of more like scrapbooky style here, just with the collages and keeping postcards and things like that. So that's pretty much everything for this journal. Now I do have these chunky journals, and these were made just with the papers, so they don't have particularly fancy covers. I mean, this one is scrapbook paper, but this one is just tea-dyed paper, and then I put like brown paper on the edges. So this one I left the stitching exposed, and you can see it's getting way too big. It's kind of coming apart there, but I think that's just because how much I clearly stuffed this journal full of things. But this was one of like the first ones that I actually made in this style, so I think that's why it's doing that. But then this one I also just hid the stitching, and I didn't go as wild as you can see with this one, especially because I decided for some reason to put like 4 signatures in here, which was really a lot, but also it kind of creates a really fun chunky journal. So hey ho. So this one, there's not like a huge amount that I love about these, to be perfectly honest with you, but I'll show you some of the pages that I do enjoy. So I was doing like painting and just kind of working with what I had done in my previous journals, but focusing more on like almost an art journal slant to them, and also working on a smaller scale with all the different textural elements that I was using. And so I was still keeping like, this is like, you know, little business cards and things like that, but it was much more going down the art journaling route. So I did some junk journal January prompts in this journal, but it wasn't at the point where I was doing like a dedicated journal just for the prompts yet. So I was just working them into what I already had. And I was also including like cutouts of pages that I had painted in my sketchbook. So I really love the way that this looks. I think dark backgrounds with florals on them are just something that I love anyway, and so I really love having this within the journals and having the contrast between like my painting here and then the cutouts of the collage. It's something I really enjoy. So I'd say they're probably like some of my favorite pages of all time from my journals, just because I love the way the paintings turned out. But yeah, there's all sorts of different things within this journal where I was doing like, this was obviously a prompt about like books and reading, and I was also adding in like little tags and things and notes from friends into pockets, and just having little collages and all sorts of bits and pieces, like a collage tag here. So yeah, lots of things that I used for this journal, and this is a very much more just traditional, almost art journal-y style page with, you can see like the collage and the paint kind of starting to blend together. I've got little like tickets here. This almost looks a bit unfinished, like I think something should have gone here, maybe like a quote or something. So yeah, like I said, it's not all finished, but yeah, there's even pages where I've literally just got paint there. But there's just lots of play and experimenting, I think, within these pages, especially because this was like lockdown times, so I was trying to practice like my painting and including them within my journal pages. I really like the way that this came out with that painting as well. So yeah, all sorts of different bits within this journal. And the other one is pretty much the same. There's not a huge amount again that I really like about these ones, but it's just fun to look back and see how I did things differently, and the way that my journaling has sort of evolved, but also I think stayed the same. Like I think you can still tell that these pages are mine. And the last category that I have to share with you is my challenge journals, so like the junk journal January and July journals. And it wasn't until I like lay them all out like this that I realized how much I've actually managed to like practice and do some junk journaling through these challenges and all these different pages. So I've got separate journals for these. As I said, I was doing sort of combined journaling within the other journals that I already had, so using the prompts within those. But since I started making the dedicated journals, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 7.5, because this one hasn't been finished, but like 7, 8 journals just from doing the challenges. So that's always a really rewarding thing to have at the end of one of those challenges, is a finished journal. So if you want to do any of the challenges, you can definitely scroll back on my Instagram, find the prompt list, and work through some of the prompts if you're looking for inspiration. I always find it a really fun way to create. So the fun thing I think for me about the challenges is that I've also done different style journals. So I have it's even. So I have 4 that are bound journals, and then I have 4 that are the no-sew journals. So the ones where they're just the concertina. So let's go through some of the bound ones first. So I have 2 skinny ones here, so let's group those together. So these are almost like a standard TN size. This one I believe was from a junk journal July in 2020, and I put growth on the front. I didn't actually title it with the junk journal July, but I know that's what it was based on the dates that I've been stamping in here. And you can see just the way that I was exploring different media and having the page sort of tell you what was going on in the world at the time. Even like that's definitely of its time. So I was just exploring like different page sizes and painting and quotes and things like that within this. And obviously like video calls were a huge thing during the lockdown. So it's funny to see this because it's very much like of its time, especially when me and I think a lot of other people were obsessed with Animal Crossing. So I would take little pictures of the island I'd made. I was very proud of it. And I would print them out because obviously we weren't doing anything else. So why not document that within my journal? But I've also got just all sorts of different things in here. So there was less documenting that was, you know, what I actually did sort of things, and it was more just bits and pieces, I think. But I was adding, you know, the quotes and little playlists and things, so it was less direct on the actual documenting. This page is all just like paint and mixed media. I think that must have been one of the prompts that I'd done for that. I've also just got like little pockets and things here where I'd added like it must have been a poem that I liked, and adding stickers and things. So a lot of pink on this page. Not sure how I feel about that one, but I was clearly just exploring and experimenting with different things, and I think that's the fun thing about these journals, is that they don't have to be perfect, and you can just try different things. So this is the junk journal January 2023. I really loved the green cover that I used for this one, and I think this might be one of my favorites that I've done, just with the different ideas that I came up with and techniques that I was able to explore. Everything felt really like full and detailed, which is something that I really enjoy about these journals, especially with junk journals, is that you can just have all of those different like textures and things going on. It really lends itself to that. So if you want to see a detailed flip through of some of these journals, I'll leave a playlist link down below, because I know I've done like more in-depth flip throughs, like going slower through the different pages if you want to see anything in detail from these journals. And also for the challenge journals, For a lot of them, I've also got process videos for each of the pages. So if you wanted to go back on my channel and see how like any of these pages in this journal were created, for example, I have a whole playlist for just Junk Journal July 2023. So you can go back and check that out if you want to see how the pages came together, because I always think it's quite interesting to watch journal with me, just because pages don't always come together the way that you think, especially the way that I journal, where I'll try one thing and then go in a completely different direction. So it's always fun to see how pages turn out. I really love this one. So the page is literally just, as you can see, like the back of an envelope, and I've got this big picture here of these pink flowers, and just the way that this collage is together I really enjoy, especially with the stitching going down on the side here. So I think this just goes to show that, you know, this is a fairly simple page. Things don't need to be super intricate in order to look like they have a lot going on, because I still think like this says quite a lot with all the different elements, but in essence it's still quite simple. So that's just something that I really enjoyed for this journal, and especially there you can see I was sort of playing again with having all of the different papers peeking through like an envelope, and you can see the paper clips and the little tabs and things. That's something that I really enjoy with my journals. And then I've also got these smaller versions here. So these are the bound ones. So we've got the July version here, 2022, and I really enjoyed this one as well. It felt very cohesive, I think, some of these pages when I was making them, but as you can see I've also just got like lots of different like tip-ins and pages of different shapes and sizes. I've got flowers that hang off the edge, so these were actually pictures that I took myself, printed them out and then cut them to size for the journal, and I love the way that they pop off the page, especially against all of the neutrals. And then with some of the prompts I was doing fun little techniques. So this was for a prompt of wallpaper, so I actually had this like plain wallpaper and I decided to use it and create like the idea of like a wallpaper sample booklet and just stapled them together. So I was able to do different imagery on those, and also collecting like different patterns here, playing around with different mixed media, having things that have little pockets and bits you can tuck things into is always a really fun thing for junk journals. You can see here I'm even using like coffee wrappers and like sweetener wrappers and just sort of doodling on those, but the way that they still look like they're meant to be on the page I think is really fun. So don't be afraid to literally use junk for your junk journals, because it can still look effective. But I was doing little like pockets here, so this is just a sheet of vellum and I stitched the little envelope to it and then added this, and this is literally just a clothing tag. So this is just recycled, but I liked the pink that they'd used, so I decided to use that for a tuck spot here, and I can't get it back in now. So yeah, all sorts of different things going on with like little coffee dyeing, and also using some rub-ons as well. I really love this textured page with the tissue paper and the coffee dyeing, even the subtle like little textured stitching that I've got going on here. So yeah, this is a journal that I really love. I even made the like faux washi strips here with some vellum, and I decided just to add them here as like a little sample of all the ones that I had made for the page, and also playing around with different pockets. So this is like a layered one with some torn vellum as well, and also just stenciling directly onto vellum, which if you're into the papery sounds, I mean, it doesn't get much more crinkly than that. Also working onto old like postcards or little photos. I really enjoyed the way that this collage came together on this page. And yeah, there's lots of coffee dyeing within this one, and adding of pockets. I think that was definitely something I was doing here, just using like sleeves from coffee and adding all sorts of things, even just doing some drawing here onto, I think this is like the sewing paper that you get. It's almost a bit like tissue paper. I'd added that as a background for this. So yeah, really love this one, especially the way that this turned out just with the quote. It was really simple, and I love the colour scheme as well. So, and that was the other side of the doily that I'd added to this journal, and just a little pocket there at the back with some notes in there. And then this was the most recent junk journal January, so I won't go through this too much because I have a recent video on my channel flipping through this. But again, as you can see, different pockets and stitching. I really enjoyed working in this one and putting all together the different like little tuck spots here and scrappy elements. I've got pockets out of envelopes and lots of layers within this journal. I was definitely playing around with having different little areas of interest on the pages, but they're not all the same in terms of style. So like that is very different from this, but I can still see the way that I was adding like the paint and seeing how it showed up on the different papers, and also just using like, you know, black instead of white and seeing how that would look for impact on my page, and also the different shaped pages as well on this one. Little like tuck spots here with things hidden underneath, and then also pages that just are frames almost, they're completely cut out. I really enjoyed putting this one together. I have a video for all of the pages in this journal if you want to see the playlist for that, how these come together. I was just doing little tags here with like books and like current reads, all sorts of different things. This is obviously very textured, and this was an interesting page. I can't remember what the prompt was off the top of my head, but I obviously had to stick in this ribbon that had been floating around my studio, and I decided now was a good time as any to use it. But I liked the pink element from this page, and again, here's the stenciling on the like tracing paper vellum, so you can see I'm kind of using same techniques and pulling them forward, but using it in a slightly different way by having this be the page where I have my quote on it as well. So you can see how things evolve, and then I really like the way that it looks on the reverse as well. Like I decided to not add anything on this side, and I think it really helps just to have the focus then on the collage on this side of the page, especially because it's actually quite busy, but I think because you don't have anything going on too much on this side, you can get away with it. And I actually like the way that the page is just ripped at the bottom from the paper sort of decaying, because this is I think this was a book page from a book that I've got that's from like 1915 or something. It's nothing too special, like it's literally falling apart anyway. That's why I felt comfortable using it within this journal. But obviously if you're using like more brittle papers within your junk journals, you kind of have to accept that they are going to sort of show their age, and you just have to be mindful of how you're using them for your journals. So it's always a good idea to use some like sturdier papers to bind your journal. Finally, I have my no-sew journals. So these are the concertina accordion style journals. So I'll just show you here with this smaller one. So this was Junk Journal July 2023, and you can see the way that the journal just unfolds and is basically just like one big long strip. It's really hard to show you in frame, but it's basically just one big long strip, so you can flip through it like a normal journal like this, but when you go to work in it, for example, you can just like have it be flat, so you don't have any like bulk on either side of the page as you're working on it. So I just think it's a really fun format for journaling, and you can also include little mini signatures as well within the pages. So I really enjoy the little small size of this one, and I actually ripped this in half as I was working on it and was able to just like add in more pages. So you can see, I think it was about here where I've actually just got like vellum that I'd filled the gap with. So you can see there the tear of where I tore the journal. So it's a really forgiving format, and there's loads of things that you can do with it. Obviously it's a little bit harder in terms of having like pockets and interactive elements, I think, just because of the nature of how it's constructed. But then you also get really fun things like this where you can see through the journal itself. So I definitely think that it, you know, they all have their pros and cons, but if you don't like the idea of like stitching and bookbinding to make a journal, then it's a really easy and accessible way of making a journal. So this is a square version of this, and you can see I've included like tags here that have little tuck spots, so it's a little bit more secure in terms of adding extra bits into my journal. I also do have like a pocket like this, so this is literally I think this might have been a bag from like McDonald's or something, and I've just painted and collaged on the top of it, but I haven't actually added anything into it. And I think if I did, I probably would have added a closure on it, just because the way that if you picked up this journal and it might just like, you know, come apart and things. So that's just an easy way to keep everything together. But you can also make closures for these journals, like if you just had some ribbon or some string. So this is an example of one of these junk journals where I haven't actually finished it yet, but it's still got some of my favorite pieces in, with like this altered postcard here with some stitching and some cutouts. But then yeah, the rest of these pages I haven't really done much in them at all, as you can see. But I did go on to the reverse, and I do really enjoy some of these pages here, like with the big florals going across the page. That's something really fun that you can do with the style of these journals. This is also just an envelope that I've added in here as well. But yeah, as you can see, I haven't finished this, so this is just an honest look at some of my junk journals. This is from the 2021 junk journal July, and this one is super chunky. It's got all sorts of bits and pieces going on with like envelopes here, as you can see, and like cutout windows. I've got lots of coffee dye going through all of the pages. I really liked the way that it felt a lot more cohesive and put together, and I do have a more detailed flip through, so don't panic as I'm going through this if you want to see anything in more detail. But I was using a lot of just like stickers from packaging and lots of different imagery to put together these pages. So you can see the coffee theme definitely running throughout, and I think that really helped with creating something that felt very cohesive on these pages. And this is probably one of my favorite pages within this journal, just all the different like stamps and bits of washi tape and things, and how the writing is just sort of there in the corner as well. Also, I really love this little tag here and the pop of white on the page. And I was also documenting like the crochet project that I was working on, because I think when I was making this journal I was also learning how to crochet. So that's funny to see. Isn't it funny when like I look back at my journals and I can like remember like the songs I was listening to or like what I was watching, and it just sort of brings back, like, even if I haven't documented the memories within it, it just really takes me back to a place. I don't know if it's the same for you, if you experienced that with your journals, but I can kind of remember what I was doing when I was making these. So that's always really interesting about flicking through these old journals and having them as, you know, art, but also just memories in a way. And then this is the most recent, my Junk Journal July 2024 journal. Really love working within this one, and I corner rounded the edges of this one. I've also got this faux stained glass window effect when I printed on some tracing paper, and I was also making like little tiny tags here to tuck into pockets, again using different things of packaging and really playing around with the different layers. I think that's something that I'm really enjoying at the minute, is having all of the different layers within my work and just seeing how I can build those up and experiment with different things. But I've also got like little plastic tip-ins here, so this is just literally like a bag from something, and I've decided to use it as a base for my collage, so it sort of blends into the page there, but I just stapled it in so that I'm able to lift it, and if I wanted to I could add something under here as well. Collaging, I also tipped in, this is an envelope that I altered, as you can see by the cutout here, and I added like a tag inside and also backed it with some imagery as well. But I didn't do too much like tipping in of things in this. I was really concentrating on working quite flat, and that's something that I really gravitate towards, I think, within my journals. Less of the pockets and things, like I do still use them, but I think that I use probably less than I see other people use in their journals. I just really like the way that things look when it's like nice and flat and flush to the page. I just like the way that things look when they are like flush and flat to the page. So that's just a personal preference, but I still do occasionally use all the different pockets and things, as you'll see within these journals. Here's the reverse of that image, so I just decided to leave that as is and just collage around the outside there. And then that is the final journal. So I did actually have a spare page from this that has a pocket, so I'm thinking I might print out the prompt list and maybe also add a note in here at the back, but it kind of felt like it was okay to leave this because with it being a pocket, it really felt like it was like, you know, the back page of a book where you have like the pocket and you tuck little things in. So I decided that's what I'm going to do with that spare page of this journal. So those are all the junk journals that I have to show you today. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at these journals with me, and like I said, if you want to see any of them in more details, whether it's a slower flip through or process videos, I have videos on my channel where you can see that of these journals. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.